you do have former Attorney General Bill Barr. Now, as you all know, Bill Barr has not exactly been Trump's biggest fans these days, but even he says that James's lawsuit against President Trump and his 3 oldest adult children is, quote, a political hit job, reminding the American people that James literally campaigned for office, promising she was going to go after him from day one. Joining me now to discuss all of this is former law clerk for Justice Neil Gorsuch and the founder and president of the Article 3 Project, Mike Davis. Mike, good to see you. So let me ask you this. First off, would it make a good criminal case?
No. Tish James is loud, angry, dumb, and Trump deranged here. She knows she does not have a case. In order to have fraud, you have to show that people relied on material misrepresentations of fact to their detriment and they were injured. And in this case, all of these banks had their loans repaid. So what is the injury? This is a political charade. This is her in a tight AG race and trying to get political attention.
So you know what's funny? I was thinking about this. When Barack Obama got elected, Mitch McConnell made some offhanded comment where he said, my goal is to make him a one-term president, right? And that clip played over and over and over again. And everybody was so outraged. They were like, I can't believe he said that, and the left would never let it go. Yesterday, though, we played a clip of Letitia James when she announced she was running for governor, bragging that she sued Trump 76 times. So I mean, it's almost like it's very clear what a political hit job, just like Bill Barr says. I would assume if this was the other, if this was the other party coming after the other party, the same media would be saying, oh my God, like this is a politically motivated hit job. But because it's Trump, they don't have a problem. They're overlooking her political motivations.
That's exactly right. And New Yorkers have a chance this November to kick her out of office, and they should. She's not up to the job. She's this woke AG who's more concerned about getting Trump for non-crimes than keeping New York safe.
You know, I actually think, honestly, she's more like into the headlines than anything else. She just thinks that by going after Trump, that'll get her, on TV and anything else. I mean, she's just an attention seeker. But here's the thing that I think is interesting, and I brought this up yesterday, so I want to get your legal analysis. She is basically saying, hey, Trump inflated the value of his property. So the property was worth $1 million. He said it was worth $2 million. And so that's the problem, right? If you're going to go down that path, and I think just in New York City alone, probably in just on Fifth Avenue, there's probably a ton of people who've done that. And so what does it say if you're only going after one person for that crime?
Well, it's a political hit. Even the New York Times pointed out how weak her allegations are against Trump, talking about how Trump made it very clear. He disclosed that these are unaudited financial disclosures that he's making, and he's dealing with sophisticated investors like Deutsche Bank, sophisticated lenders like Deutsche Bank, who have their own review team, auditing team. No one was duped here, no one was tricked here, and everyone got their money back.
So that's what's interesting. I remember I was getting my house refinanced, and they came in, they did the appraisal, and I was like, whoa, 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 this is lower than it was 2 years ago, and neighborhood values had gone up. I mean, these things fluctuate all the time. Who is she to say that the valuation that like a Deutsche Bank did is not valid? If they thought it was valid, it was their money on the line. So isn't that, I find this very subjective. If he can come back and say, here is the Zillow report on it, for goodness sake, or something else, just, from real estate, those things fluctuate. It seems to me that that's a lot of stock to put into one case.
What's telling is that there aren't victims. There's no one named in here who are the victims of this supposed fraud. No one's coming forward and saying, Trump defrauded me and I lost money, because it didn't happen. And therefore, it's not possible that Tish James has fraud claims against Trump.
So I want to pivot a little and go onto this Mar-a-Lago case. The president was asked about declassifying these documents, and I think a lot of people were a little taken back by what he said when it came to the declassification of documents, because he was asked about it, and he said, I can declassify any of these things. I just say it, and it's declassified. Or this is where I think a lot of heads got scratched. He said, even by thinking it, from a legal standpoint, give me a rating on where that case stands, where that argument stands. Can the president say, I thought about it, therefore it was declassified?
You have to look at the rest of what he said right after that, which is by taking it to Mar-a-Lago, they become personal declassified records, which is exactly what an Obama-appointed judge held in 2012 related to President Clinton's 8 years of highly classified audio tapes of his presidency that he took and put in his sock drawer. That's how the Presidential Records Act works. Under the Presidential Records Act, it doesn't matter whether it's classified or non-classified, they're presidential records. And if he took the records with him and didn't declare them as presidential records as he was leaving office, they are deemed personal under the Presidential Records Act.
Okay, so explain that to me and the viewers. So if I take a document that's clearly a government document, right, and it says, hey, here's a military action, and I'm the President of the United States, and I take that with me, the mere fact of taking it, that makes it personal, not political, not governmental?
Yes. So the president, before 1978, all these presidential records belonged to the president personally. They changed it in 1978 for presidents starting in 1980. After 1980, it is a negotiation between the National Archives and the president. But when the president leaves office, if he doesn't say, here are my presidential records, if he takes records with them, they are deemed personal. And this is confirmed by a 2012 Clinton judge case regarding Obama judge case with the Clinton sock drawer. So that's how the Presidential Records Act works.
Okay, in the final 30 seconds I have, Mike, do you think that Trump's team is making the case that you just made effectively?
I think that they will. You're going to see, I think that some lawyers got into this case late into the game, and they're going to, I imagine they're going to file an updated, amended Rule 41G motion and make these arguments, and Trump should get back every one of these records that were raided from his home because they are personal declassified records under the Presidential Records Act, unquestionably.
Mike Davis, you always bring the insight that we get nowhere else. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.